friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another 5 nights of dinner. It's been a minute since I did one of these videos. I just had to compile 5 delicious family-friendly dinners that I could put into one amazing video for you guys. So we are going to have a full 5 nights of dinner recipes. So if you want to see my 5 meals, stay tuned. Here's what's in our hamburger pie. So we have self-rising flour and non-fat Greek yogurt. We are going to be making some 2-ingredient dough. So if you don't know how to make this, you will be learning in this video. In addition, we have some light mozzarella. So of course, I'm going to use the Trader Joe's light mozzarella, an onion, 1 pound of extra lean ground beef. This is the 96.4. Cut green beans. You can either use fresh, canned, or frozen. I just think frozen works best in these types of dishes. A 15-ounce can of Hunt's tomato sauce and 1 egg. So let's put together our hamburger pie. So the first step in making our hamburger pie is we need to brown our meat. So I have 1 pound of 96.4 lean ground beef. And then I did chop up my onion. The recipe calls for about a half of a cup of onion. So with that small onion that I had, that's what I've got here is about a half of a cup. So we're going to get this cooking. And while our hamburger is browning and our onions are cooking, we are going to make our 2-ingredient dough. While our hamburger is cooking, we're going to prepare our 2-ingredient dough. So in here, I have 1 cup of self-rising flour. Anytime you are creating 2-ingredient dough, it's a 1-to-1 between the self-rising flour and the non-fat Greek yogurt. Now, I do not measure my yogurt only because I want to make sure that my dough isn't too sticky. So I usually will just scoop it in as I feel I need it to create my dough. So I'm going to get this kind of stirred up. We'll see if I do need to add some additional Greek yogurt. But typically if it is a 1-to-1 ratio, and that of course in my opinion depends on the Greek yogurt that you're using. Fa-A is the best in my opinion because it's thicker and less runny, so your dough tends to be less sticky, which then makes it easier to work with. So I'm going to get this all mixed up until I have a dough consistency, and then we will get this rolled into our pie. Once you have your dough formed in a ball, you're going to take your rolling pin, and here's a hack for you. Spray your rolling pin with some nonstick cooking spray, and that will prevent it from sticking to your dough. And then you also don't have to add any additional points for flour. So go ahead and get that somewhat rolled out. You can see that I have that on a piece of parchment paper just to kind of keep my counter a little bit more clean. So you just want to get it rolled out enough that you can spread this into your pie dish. And you can see here that I have also sprayed my pie dish with some nonstick cooking spray. So I'm just going to get this rolled out. Doesn't have to be even. You just want to get it big enough and flat enough that you can layer it into your pie dish. So you want to get that rolled out, put some muscle in it. And then once you get your dough rolled out, and you saw how it did not stick to my rolling pin, we are going to take our pie dish and we're just going to put this into our pie dish. And then from here is where you can really kind of restructure your dough to fit more evenly into the pie dish. So I would recommend that you do kind of run it up the side. See how I'm kind of bringing my dough up the side a little bit. And that's only because it will hold all of the ingredients of your hamburger pie in just a little bit better. So go ahead and pull it up the side. You can even pull it up to the rim here if you want to. I don't think that that's necessary as long as you do have a little bit rolled up the side. So there is our completed 2-ingredient dough for our hamburger pie. The next step is to take our egg, put it into a dish and beat it slightly. And then we are going to pour that egg into the middle of our pie dish. You are going to want to take a paper towel and you are going to take that egg and you are just going to coat your crust. And the rule with this is coat your crust. see all this excess egg, we are going to remove that out of our pie dish. So make sure that you do have a few paper towels handy, and I just usually put. Once we have our crust washed with the egg, we are going to take our light cheese and we want to measure out 1 ounce. We need 5 ounces total for the recipe, but we want to go ahead and measure out 1 ounce of our shredded mozzarella. So there is 1 ounce, and we are just going to sprinkle that into the bottom of the pie dish. So just kind of coat your crust the best that you can with the 1 ounce of light shredded mozzarella. Once your hamburger and onions are cooked down and you have drained any remaining grease, we are going to add our bag of green beans. And then we are also going to add in our can of tomato sauce. And if you follow my channel, you know that Hunt's is by far my favorite tomato sauce. And then we are just going to stir this up, and we just want to let this cook long enough for those green beans to not be frozen and to soften just a bit, because they will continue to cook once we add this to our pie dish and put this into the oven. I have also added some pepper as well as a little bit of the Trader Joe's onion salt to my hamburger mixture as well, just for that little bit of added flavor. You can see here that I've went ahead and measured out the additional 4 ounces of light shredded mozzarella. Remember, we do have 1 ounce here in our pie dish, and then I have 4 additional ounces, which will top the top of the hamburger pie. So the final step before we put our hamburger pie into the oven is we are going to add our meat and bean mixture to the crust of our hamburger pie. So go ahead and dump that in there, and then we're just going to spread this as evenly as we can into our pie crust. This does make a lot of filling. That is one of the other reasons that we had you go up the side a little bit of your pie dish. So get that spread out as evenly as you can. So good. I'm so excited. Again, this is a tried and true recipe in this household. My husband loves it, absolutely loves it. So once you get your filling into your pie dish, you're then going to top it with the remainder of your 4 ounces of the light shredded mozzarella. And you just want to get this as even as possible, just so every delicious bite of this hamburger pie has cheese, because cheese is the best. Now, I will let you know that you can go ahead and add additional cheese. If you are using the Trader Joe's light mozzarella, it is only 1 smart point per ounce. So you can always add some additional cheese to the top of this. You just have to make sure that you add those additional smart points into your calculations for your serving of the hamburger pie. But doesn't this look so delicious? We will put this in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes. And with the magic of YouTube, I will be back to show you our completed hamburger pie. The hamburger pie is out of the oven, and look at how delicious this looks. It is cheesy and the crust is brown. Look at this crust. It is so thick. I love that about this hamburger pie. So I am going to cut mine into 8 servings. Each serving would then be 3 smart points. So I'm going to show you what a 3 smart point serving would look like. And you can also make a bigger serving, so you can cut this into fourths, and that would give you 7 smart points per serving. So it depends on how hungry you are, but I'm going to do this into 8 servings. I'll plate this up and show you what 3 smart points of absolute deliciousness looks like. So here's 1/8 of the hamburger pie. So this is a good amount of food, and this is only 3 smart points. Look at how cheesy and delicious that looks. So bon appetit. Enjoy this amazing, delicious dinner. For tonight's dinner, we are going to have cheesesteak style sloppy joes. I'm excited about this. What a great recipe for the entire family. A fun spin on your traditional sloppy joe. So here is what is in our cheesesteak style sloppy joes. So we have beef broth, Worcestershire sauce, cornstarch, salt, pepper, garlic powder, but I don't have garlic powder, so I'm going to do garlic salt, light butter, 1 pound of 96.4 extra lean ground beef, a green pepper, a small onion, and then I'm going to put mine on a sandwich slim. And then we are going to use the Jarlsberg light reduced fat Swiss cheese. We may also use the Velveeta. We'll just kind of see what one we decide on at the end, but I'm thinking the Swiss to make it a little bit more traditional sloppy Joe Philly cheesesteak. And then we're going to pair that with some salad. So this is the Dole Endless Summer Salad Kit. So let's get started on our cheesesteak style sloppy joes. So the first thing we need to do is get our green pepper and our onion diced. And we want to dice these pretty fine because we are going to cook these down and add them into our hamburger mixture. So let's chop up our veggies. First thing we need to do is get our hamburger ground. So here is my 1 pound of extra lean ground beef. And to that, we are going to add our salt and some pepper. And then we are going to brown this until completely cooked through before removing it from our pan. Once your hamburger is cooked through, we're just going to add it to a separate bowl here and set it aside so that we can cook down our vegetables. It is just going to get set aside for just a few minutes, but it's already smelling delicious. I went ahead and drained what little bit of grease was left, and then I'm just going to go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of butter to my pan because I did have a little bit left of the grease from the hamburger. We're going to let this butter melt down, and then we're going to add our veggies. To our melted butter, I have my onions and green peppers. We're going to add those, and then we are going to cook this down until they are translucent. Once your peppers and onions are translucent, we are going to return our ground beef to our pan, and then we are going to prepare the sauce for our Philly cheesesteak sloppy joes. So to our hamburger and pepper mixture, we are going to add 1/2 cup of beef broth. We are also going to add in some garlic salt. Now, if you have garlic powder, that is actually what the recipe calls for, but I don't have any, so I'm going to go ahead and use garlic salt. And then I need about 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. So I'm going to add that to my mixture. My gosh, this looks so good. And then the last thing that we are going to add is we are going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. So there is our 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. And then we are just going to mix this all together. And we are going to let this cook for just a little bit, reduce the heat and let it cook down and thicken. Look at how good this looks. So it has thickened up the sauce. And then the last step is to add our 4 slices of cheese, whatever cheese you choose to use. We are going to do the Jarlsberg Swiss. And we're just going to lay that onto the meat and veggie mixture, and we're going to let that melt, and our cheesesteak is complete. And there is the finished product. There are our cheesesteak sloppy joes. This looks so good. This entire pan only makes 4 servings, so I'm actually going to serve mine open-faced. So let me put my dinner together along with my salad, and I will show you the completed meal. And here is my completed meal. So this is one of the sloppy joes. It looks so good, cheesy and delicious. And then I did put together the endless summer salad. So I just put like 1/8 of everything on my salad, which has croutons, cheese, sunflower seeds, croutons. Oh, I said croutons and dressing. So I only put about 1/8 of it on mine, and the rest of it went on to my husband's. So here is my completed meal. What a delicious dinner. So tonight's dinner is going to be steak tacos made in the crock pot. So it's about 6:30 a.m. and I'm going to get everything into my crock pot here before I head to work. So here's what's in our steak tacos. So we have quite a bit of steak here. I have 4 pretty good sized steak fillets. You will need 2 cans of Rotel. I did get the mild because my husband does not do spicy anything. And the seasonings that you'll need is cumin, garlic salt, onion powder, and chili powder. And everything is going to go here in my crock pot. So let's get our steak tacos together. All right, as you can see, I have my 4 pieces of steak in my crock pot, and I'm going to add my Rotel. So again, it's 2 cans of Rotel, and we're just going to throw everything here on top of the steak. And then from there, we are going to add our seasoning, and it is a tablespoon of all the seasonings. So first, we're going to go ahead and add our cumin, and I'm going to put it all on top of the Rotel, and then I will just mix it in. And then we are going to add 1 tablespoon of onion powder. And then we are going to add 1 tablespoon of garlic salt. And then lastly, we are going to add 1 tablespoon of chili powder. And then I'm going to take a spoon to this. We'll get this all stirred together, and then we'll get our crock pot turned on to low to let it cook the whole day that I am at work today. So I've mixed all my seasonings in my Rotel. I moved the steaks and made sure all the steaks were covered. And there is not much liquid in here, so I'm going to add just a little bit of beef broth. Just enough to maybe add just a bit of liquid into the bottom of my crock pot. I just don't want all of this drying up. No one's here. Could be a fire hazard. So I'm just erring on the side of caution. So I did go ahead and add just a little bit of beef broth. And I will be back after work to show you how I'm going to prepare the tacos. So here is the crock pot steak taco meat. It looks really good. There's plenty of liquid, so that's a relief. I'm going to pull out all of the pieces of steak and shred those up, and I will show you how I put together my tacos. All right, so I'm ready to put my tacos together. Look at that. It looks so good, the shredded steak. I am going to go ahead and weigh out the steak on my food scale. I'm going to have a total of 3 ounces between both of my tacos. I have 2 of the Olay Wellness wraps. That is going to be my taco shell, 1 Smart Point per wrap. Then I have some of the reduced fat sour cream, and I have fat-free cheddar cheese. So let's get these tacos put together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have my 2 Olay wraps on my food scale here, and I am going to weigh out a total of 3 ounces of the steak. So I'm going to do about 1.5 ounces on each wrap. And then that way I know exactly what to count points for. And yes, there is a little bit of Rotel mixed in here, but not a big deal. I'm not going to worry about that as far as the weight goes. I'm really mostly concerned about the amount of steak that I have. So there is exactly 3 ounces of the steak. And then to this, I'm going to add my fat-free cheddar cheese, just a little bit of that. And then I'm going to also add my sour cream. So I am going to do 1 tablespoon per taco. So once I get my cheese on here, I am going to toss these in the microwave for just a few seconds to kind of melt down my cheese, and then we will add on our sour cream. So I have my cheese melted here on my shells, and to that I am going to add a total of 30 grams. So I'm going to re-zero out my scale, and I'm going to do 15 grams of the reduced fat sour cream on each one of my tacos. And this is really truly the easiest way to measure out really anything, is using your food scale, because then that way you don't overindulge. And you know exactly what you're getting. And sometimes doing it by weight, you actually get more than counting it out or measuring it out in a tablespoon. So there is 15 grams per taco. I am going to roll that up. This looks so good. I did try a little piece of the steak. It has really good flavor from the rotel. So there is my dinner. I think that I probably will add a vegetable, maybe some corn or something to the side. You could also do fat-free refried beans, but look at all this steak I have left. So it made a lot of steak for tacos. So there you have it, another great WW-friendly dinner. So I ended up just adding a little bit of salsa to the top. This is the mellow black bean and corn salsa, private selection brand from Fred Meyer or Kroger. So I'm not going to pair it with a vegetable. I think this is going to be plenty. And what a low point dinner that's not using a 0-point protein. Bon appetit, guys. For tonight's dinner, we are going to make 2-ingredient dough pizza. This is one of our all-time favorite dinners. It is so good. So here is what is in our pizza. So first, to make our crust, you will need some self-rising flour. If you do not have self-rising flour, you can use regular flour. You just need to add your leveling agents to it, so your baking powder and baking soda. And then you will need some non-fat Greek yogurt. I like Fa the best because it is thick and not watery, so it helps keep your dough from getting extra sticky. And then for toppings on my pizza, I have here, this is the Skinny Dish Crock-Pot Marinara. It is 0 points for any amount on WW. I always use the Trader Joe's light shredded mozzarella. We love mushrooms on our pizza. We are also going to put some Hormel turkey pepperoni. And then I always use minced onion instead of diced onion. It's easier and it cooks down with some really good flavor. And then I am going to use Dax Italian Blast and some oregano. So let's get started on our 2-ingredient dough pizza. So the first thing that we need to do is make our crust. So you do want to use an oversized bowl just to make mixing of the dough a lot easier. Here I have 1/3 cup of self-rising flour. So you can use however much flour you want. I usually stick with the 1/3 cup because it is only 4 smart points. And then you have your Greek yogurt. So this recipe is typically a 1-to-1. So if you were going to use 1/3 cup of self-rising flour, you would then use 1/3 cup of non-fat Greek yogurt. But I never measure my yogurt. I just put it in and I mix it until I have the consistency of the dough that I'm looking for, because this dough can get really sticky. And if you have too much Greek yogurt, you have to add additional flour to roll it out, which technically would then add additional points. So I will just add in Greek yogurt until I feel that I have the right consistency of the dough that I'm looking for my pizza. So you just want to make sure you combine this fully. You can use a spoon like I am, or you can use your hands. I often will use my hands to form my pizza dough ball, but this is looking pretty good. And then we will get this rolled out, and I'll show you a trick to roll it out where you don't have to use any additional flour, even if your dough is a little on the sticky side. Once I've mixed my dough up, I always add a little bit of seasoning directly to my dough. So I flatten it out. I put my seasoning in the middle here, and this is the Dax Italian Blast. And then I'm just going to take my hands and I'm just going to incorporate that seasoning into my dough before I actually roll it out to make my pizza. And it just adds that little bit of extra flavor to your pizza. And then I typically will even put some more of my seasoning on top of my pizza once I actually roll it out. But there I have added a little bit of that Dax seasoning to my dough. Pro tip for rolling out your dough: spray your parchment paper with some cooking spray. You can then transfer the parchment paper directly to a cookie sheet for cooking. And then you also want to spray your rolling pin with nonstick cooking spray, and that helps it not stick, but also alleviates you having to try to flour your surface and your rolling pin, which then adds additional points. So that is a pro tip to avoid stickage of your dough. And then you're just gonna roll this out to the size and thickness that you want. So the thinner you roll it out, the bigger your actual crust will be for your pizza. And I like mine fairly thin. It cooks a little bit better. And again, it makes it a little bit bigger working surface for all of your pizza toppings. So there is my dough all rolled out. And then from here, we are going to add on our toppings. Now it's time to assemble my pizza. So here I have measured out on my food scale 3 ounces of the Trader Joe's light mozzarella. I have my mushrooms, my marinara, my spices, 15 slices of Hormel turkey pepperoni. And here is my completed pizza. It looks absolutely delicious. This is a total of 8 Smart Points for the entire pizza. Look at that. That looks so good. Definitely a great family-friendly recipe. For tonight's dinner, we are going to make WW-friendly meatloaf, mashed cauliflower potatoes with gravy, and corn, so that of course we can mix that in with those mashed cauliflower potatoes and gravy. So here's what is in our meatloaf. So we have breadcrumbs. You can also use regular bread and make your own breadcrumbs, whatever your preference is. Barbecue sauce, I'm gonna use the G. Hughes sugar-free honey. Worcestershire sauce. Ketchup, I'm doing no sugar added. It calls for brown or spicy mustard, but I love the taste of this Cuban style mustard in meatloaf. Our seasonings are salt and pepper, garlic salt or garlic powder, and minced onion. The recipe does call for regular onion, but I prefer the minced in my meatloaf so that the chunks aren't as big. And then of course we need a red pepper and a pound of 96.4 lean ground beef. And then I am going to have this mashed cauliflower from Trader Joe's. This stuff is so delicious. They're little cubes, and all you do is you put them into the microwave and warm them up, and you have mashed cauliflower. And the points are ridiculously low. And I like to top that with a little bit of gravy. So I'm going to do this Heinz home-style roasted turkey gravy. And then I'm just going to warm up some Trader Joe's cut white corn, and that will be my vegetable. So let's make tonight's dinner. So the first thing we need to do for our meatloaf is get our red pepper. And if you are using a regular onion, you want to get both of those chopped up so that you can combine that with the meat and the rest of the meatloaf ingredients. So let's chop up this baby. So once our peppers and onions are cut up, we're gonna combine everything into one bowl. Makes it super easy. So I'm gonna start here with my 1 pound of 96.4 lean ground beef. And to that, I'm gonna go ahead and add my red peppers that you saw me chop up. So I'm gonna add those to the mixture here. And at this point, you would also add your chopped onion. Probably keep those together in one container on one cutting board, but I really think minced onion is the way to go. So I'm going to do minced onion. So let's go ahead and do that next. So I'm going to add in the equivalent of minced onion into what would be basically one whole onion. I like that minced onion has a nice, delicious sweet flavor, but also adds that oniony flavor to your food as well. And then to that, I am going to add in my G. Hughes barbecue sauce. And that is 1 tablespoon of barbecue sauce. I am not going to measure. I'm just going to kind of wing it. I pretty much know what a tablespoon looks like, and it's not going to add any additional points. So then from there, we're going to go ahead and add in our ketchup, which we want about 2 tablespoons of our ketchup. And we're going to save these out because we're going to make a glaze as well for our meatloaf. So we're going to go ahead and add our ketchup. And then next I'm going to go ahead and add in my Cuban style or any type of mustard. And that is 1 tablespoon of mustard. And then we're going to move over to this side of the table and we're going to go ahead and add in our Worcestershire sauce. And we are going to add in 1 tablespoon of that into our meatloaf mixture. Love Worcestershire sauce. It gives the meatloaf such a great flavor. And then we have an egg here. I did not picture this in the beginning, so I apologize. But I am going to add in my 1 egg, minus any shells, of course. And then from there, I have just shy of a half of a cup of breadcrumbs. The recipe says 2/3 of a cup, but that's a lot for this meatloaf. So I'm going to go just shy of a half a cup, which is equivalent to 1 slice of bread toasted and ground up and made into breadcrumbs. And then to that, I'm going to add in my pepper. And this, for me, seasoning is to taste, of course. And then I'm going to add in my Trader Joe's sea salt. And I do not have any garlic powder, so I'm going to have to use garlic salt. So I'm going to go a little light on the regular salt so that I can add in the garlic salt. And then we are literally going to just mix all of this together until fully combined. I use my hands. I think that really is the easiest way to combine meatloaf ingredients. So taking off the wedding ring, digging my hands in, and I'm literally just going to mix all of these ingredients in thoroughly with my meat. And then we are going to form a loaf on a sheet pan. And while I'm mixing, I'll explain the reasoning for that. So as you know, you can cook meatloaf in a loaf pan. I don't like to do that because I feel like all of the grease settles around the side of the meatloaf. Sheet pan, I did add a sheet of parchment paper. That way it's easier cleanup. And then we're just going to take our meat mixture. Make sure you get out of your bowl all the good stuff. And then we are just going to free-form this into a loaf. So you can make it thinner, you can make it fatter, you can do kind of whatever you want to do. I'm just going to form it into a loaf shape, but I'm going to make mine a little thinner. I feel like it cooks faster, and I also feel like it cooks a little bit more evenly if the meatloaf itself isn't as thick. So there you have it. Super, super easy to do. Just form it into a loaf shape. And then we are going to make our glaze for the top of this and get this meatloaf glazed up and get it ready to go into the oven. To make the glaze for our meatloaf, we need 3 things. We need our ketchup, our barbecue sauce, and our Worcestershire sauce. Lots of sauces happening here. Okay, so first off is 3 tablespoons of ketchup. And of course, I'm using the reduced sugar. I, again, am just going to eyeball it. Ooh, I'm almost out of my reduced sugar ketchup. Alrighty, so about 3 tablespoons of that. And then it calls for 1 tablespoon of our Worcestershire sauce. So I'm going to add in about a tablespoon of that. And again, this is just going on top, just to cook as a glaze on top of the meatloaf. And then it calls for 2 tablespoons of our barbecue sauce. So I'm going to eyeball about 2 tablespoons of that. And then we are going to take our spoon here and mix this all together until fully combined. And then we are going to brush this on our meatloaf with our little Pampered Chef, Pioneer Woman brush. So there's our glaze, and let's get it onto our meatloaf. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my brush here, dip it into my sauce, and I'm going to just brush it on top of my meatloaf first. And then I always like to brush a little bit of it down the sides of my meatloaf because it gives it that caramelized, so good, deliciousness on the whole entire meatloaf instead of just on the top. And you can apply liberally. It is just going to kind of caramelize as it cooks. And like I said, with my meatloaf, I'm going to have the Trader Joe's cauliflower. This is in the frozen section. You can check this out. It's pretty cool. So they come in these little cubes, and all you do is you pop them in the microwave, or you can even heat them on the stovetop. But you can have all of this mashed cauliflower for only 2 smart points. Trader Joe's also sells regular mashed potatoes in the same bag, which are these right here. These are for my husband, so these are about double the points. So I'm going to give him the regular mashed potatoes, and I'm going to have the cauliflower mash. So it's up to you, whatever you decide to have and serve to your family, but both are equally delicious. So I'm going to pop these in the microwave, let these cook down. We'll add a little bit of gravy and let that kind of mix in, and then we'll cook down some corn as well. To my mashed cauliflower, I'm going to add some, I can't believe it's not butter spray, just a tablespoon here of the homestyle gravy is 0 smart points. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that to the top of my potatoes. And then here is my Trader Joe's cut white corn. I just put it in a bowl with a little bit of water. I'm going to toss it in the microwave, warm it up, and this literally is an easy peasy meal. So I will show you everything plated up. And here is our meatloaf. It just came out of the oven. Look at how delicious this looks. So I'm going to slice this into 5 helpings, and 1/5 of this meatloaf is 5 smart points. So not bad at all. So I'm gonna get this sliced up, get everything on my plate, and I'll show you our final dinner. And here's the completed meal. So there is 1/5 of the meatloaf for 5 smart points. I have just a little bit of corn here that I'm going to mix into my cauliflower mash, which I did add that tablespoon of gravy and some salt and pepper. So this is a 7 smart point dinner. It's a lot of food, it's comfort, it's filling, delicious. I hope you enjoyed this 5 nights of dinners. Super fun to make this video for you guys. All of these recipes are WW friendly. They're all great for the family. They are comfort food, and most importantly, they are so delicious. So if you haven't already, please just take a moment and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so that you're notified every time I upload a new video. Comment below and let me know what your favorite recipe was that I showed you. And of course, leave any comments on any future recipes you'd like to see in either a 5 nights of dinner or just another recipe video. Give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see all of you in my next video. Bye!